Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Signed the Traitors. We are a Traitors Canada recap podcast, and we are brought to you by Silent Podcasts, where we are anything but silent. And I'm your host, Katie, and I am here with my faithful co host. I hope he's not a traitor, Javier. Javier, how are you? Are you in mourning today?
I am in mourning. I am
Me
very
too.
sad. I
Me too.
am, and I was shocked. Well, once we get into it, I didn't expect it. I did
Neither
not
did
expect
I.
that to happen. But
Blindsided. I was
yes,
blindsided.
the producers blindsided me. They blindsided
Yes.
us. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well, let's just jump right in because the episode, we just jumped right in. As a reminder, last week we had Sarah Carradine here. She was a wonderful guest and she's welcome back
Yes.
anytime she would like to come back. But we had a great conversation. But we left it a cliffhanger and none of us were happy about it because the
Mm-mm.
cliffhanger was in the middle of the roundtable. So when we left off, I think Travon had 2 votes. Mai had 1 vote and Rick had 2 votes. So could have gone any way. We
Mhm.
jump right back into the roundtable, and Travon got 1 vote from Kevin, and then everybody else voted for Rick. And Rick was not unanimously voted out, but pretty handily voted out. And I was shocked and surprised and really sad about it.
Yeah. I mean, listen. If y'all listened to last week's, I was
Mm-hmm.
really here hyping up my boy Rick.
We stand Rick on this
I
podcast.
exactly. My last words were Rick is gonna die because this is what the show does. When
I
I finally
know.
start liking someone, they take them out, and they took out Rick. And I was very sad. I'm glad we got a really great Rick episode at least before he went out.
Yes.
But I'll miss Rick. I'll miss him a lot.
I'm gonna miss him too. I even they showed us in the preview again him saying to Mai like, "Remind me, did you lose your reality
Yeah,
show or whatever?" And I
for
laughed
real.
again, even though I knew that I had already seen it. I was just like, "Oh man, I love Rick." And then right into the episode, and boom, Rick is taken from us before we were ready to have him taken. And this was a devastating episode all around. I have to say, we lost a lot of really good characters
Yes,
in this
we did.
episode.
I was not
We
happy he was
had
murdered either.
yeah, we had 3 because we had the last week's roundtable, we had the murder, and then we had another roundtable. So we lost 3 players this week, and all 3 of them were great for the show. So I'm feeling a little devastated all around, but mostly for Rick.
Agreed. Yeah, it was a devastating episode. We lost 3 great people, um, especially one who I thought was going to make it further in the game. So
Me
we'll get
too.
into that when we talk about the roundtable a bit more. But
Yeah. Oh, I thought you meant the person who was murdered. So okay, we'll definitely
ooh,
talk about it. Overall, we said it right before we went live, but this episode felt a little shorter than usual. I don't know
mhm,
if it's just that it had more. I mean, I don't think it had more segments, but maybe because we had the recap and then we went, not the recap, the cliffhanger, and then we went right into the murder
mhm.
and then we went right into the breakfast. I feel like they had to hit each beat really quickly, and I don't know. It feels like it flew by. Even the challenge felt like it was only like 3 minutes long. It was strange.
Yeah,
Weird
I agree.
pacing this episode.
Yeah, the episode felt rushing. You would think with we're losing 3 people. You would think we'd have
Mm-hmm.
so much in between each death or each banishment, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So it was shocking to see that last episode we lost one person and they ended on a cliffhanger. This episode we lose 3 people
Mm-hmm.
and it just felt very short. So it was very bizarre.
Yeah, it was really strange. So let's get into it. I mean, everybody at the round table after Rick went home, he was like, everybody's playing a great game, and especially the faithfuls, and I'm one of them. I thought it was a good reveal, and everybody was just quiet. They were shocked,
Mhm.
which I guess I would also be shocked if I was wrong, and I felt so strong in my convictions, but like they've been wrong almost every time, except for
Yeah,
Melby, who was just very obviously a traitor. So it's like you would think that they wouldn't be so shocked anymore at this point because the odds of getting a traitor, they're kind of slim.
yeah, no, I agree. It was, the reactions, actually, given how they felt so strongly about Rick, I guess I understand why they were so shocked.
Yeah.
And honestly, if Rick was a traitor, I wouldn't have, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think they were that wrong to think Rick was a traitor.
Hmm.
Because he was like, he seemed to have a pretty good grasp on the game, and I think that makes you a target. And he was saying a lot of the right things. So I understand why they would think Rick is a target. So that definitely, I guess that kind of, when I looked at it through that lens, then to me it made a little bit of sense why they were so shocked.
Yeah. I guess here's the thing for me is I feel like I guess maybe just from watching the show and especially in the US version, it just feels like the traitors are always more quiet, that like they go for the loudest people, which I just don't feel like if you're a traitor you're going to be that risky and that loud. Like you would immediately, like your instinct would tell you I need to be a little more quiet, I don't want to put attention on me. So you would think they, and not to jump too far ahead, I'm going to jump to the very end of the episode, but it sounds like in next week's episode they're going to kind of flip their strategy on its head a little bit and start thinking about the people who are fading into the background. But it
Yeah.
does feel like, other than Mel B, who wasn't maybe the most active at the roundtables, but she just was overacting in general with her reactions. It just feels like, I don't know. I guess it's the right time for them to start flipping things over on their head. But anyway, we get another mention of the herd mentality by Rick in a confessional, and I just think
Mhm.
it's like a very interesting theme this season that everybody's like, "Oh, we're going with the herd," which I do kind of feel like at a certain point you have to go with the herd. You need a majority to get someone out, so it makes more sense to vote with the group, as we'll see, because Fierce is very upset with Kevin for not voting with the group, but we'll get to that when we get to
Yeah.
breakfast. But Trevon tells us that he can't trust his gut because every single thing I've done and every single thing I've said has been bad. And I have to say, at least he's more self-aware than some of our
Yeah.
US faithfuls. So maybe he's not as bad as some of the ones that we've compared him to in the past.
Yeah, no, I agree. I wrote that in my notes as well. I was like, at least he's self-aware that he's doing a terrible job at this game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if he flips the script and tries to change his game up a bit. I didn't really see much of that in this episode. We actually didn't see really much of Trayvon this episode at all in general. So
Yeah. Yeah, we got some
maybe,
interesting bits with him, but we'll get to it. I think
you
the challenge just felt so short. And I feel like he was really trying to prove himself in the challenge. And because we didn't get that much from the challenge, I don't feel like we got a ton from him anyway.
yeah.
But last week when Sarah was here, we were talking about the cliffhanger, and we were saying it would have just made much more sense for them to give the cliffhanger at the deliberation for murder, because Kuzi wanted to recruit and Mike wanted
Mhm.
to murder. But when
Mhm.
we get to the deliberation, Kuzi reveals that she has the shield to Mike. Mike says he doesn't want to recruit. It only makes us a suspect, which I don't really understand his logic there. And Kuzi says to us in the confessional, we taste good. If we add something else, it might ruin the broth. And I'm like, Kuzi, last week you were telling us you wanted to recruit and that Mike wanted to murder, but it just seemed like she was like, oh no, I'm going to just let Mike murder. Whatever. It's fine.
Mhm.
And it was not even a little bit of like a riveting discussion at all. So I guess that's why they didn't cut the episode off there.
Yeah, I agree. I thought there would be more pushback from Kuzi there
Yeah.
to try to get her way. And I'm starting to think, especially now that we saw the previews for the next episode, that not recruiting is gonna. I think they need to recruit. So
Yes.
we'll talk when we get to the end of this episode. But I think it was smart to not recruit the first week that they had the chance. But I think this week it would have been a good idea to recruit, as we are
Yeah.
seeing in this throughout this episode. More eyes are being put on in this episode, Mike. So
Yes.
I think they have to
Yes.
get on that.
Yeah, I agree. I think this would have been the right week. It could have, I understand the hesitation, and I do feel like that could lead to, again, like a 2-against-1 situation for one of the traders,
Mhm.
which is always a risk. But I do feel like having one other person that could absorb some heat that you could just throw to the wolves might have been a good idea this week, because, like you said, Mike did get some heat.
Mhm.
And it seems like next week we see maybe some heat going on Kuzi, and at least based on the preview, who knows?
Mhm.
Um,
This actually brings up a question in my
yeah,
head right now, that I wanted to ask you.
yeah.
Do you think if you were to recruit, so I just had a thought. If you recruit someone who's very loud, kind of like Fierce, do you think that would be a good game plan so that then we get Fierce out and everyone gets their eyes off of Kuzi and Mike? That's what I just started thinking right now. Do you think that would be a good plan to recruit someone loud or someone more quiet who's fading in the background?
I think it depends on if I would want to work with the person or if I would just want to have a shield in front of me. But like I
Mhm.
think, as we'll hear, Mary's name is out there a little bit, or at least we thought so, but the round table was a little strange. I If I knew that and I'm Kuzi and Mike, I'm pulling in Mary, because maybe Mary goes next week, everybody might think they're right and think they got two traitors, and then maybe it's like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, we're on to the right, let's follow our gut, we got this person. So I
Yeah.
would maybe keep my ear to the ground and hear who people are thinking and pull one of those people in, um, as maybe a strategy to be a shield. But if I want someone that's like a good partner as a traitor, I would probably pick someone that's, I don't know. I think Ari in the US was a good traitor. But he wasn't really quiet. He was a little more vocal in
Hmm.
terms of like pointing folks out, which I think kept a lot of heat off of him. So I don't know. I guess it depends on the strategy. What about you?
Yeah, no. So I think that I would go with someone who is loud in the sense that for the recruitment, when you first start with your three traders, you didn't have like a choice in that.
Right.
So I understand you don't necessarily want to throw anyone under the bus right away. But I think if eyes are turning on, if let's say if I were Mike, if eyes are turning on me, I'm gonna get someone who's louder than me, and like you said, someone who is already there's some traction behind their name. Maybe I'll recruit a May, maybe I'll recruit a
Mm-hmm.
Trayvon, maybe I'll recruit a Mary. So the faithful then get that person out, and then, like you said, they think they're on the right track.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I'm forgetting the saying, but it's like you give a little bit so that everyone think, and then everyone is happy, and then that way people take their eyes off you. So I
Yeah.
think that's the plan that I would go with.
Yeah. Like right now, I think you're right. Like May would be a good trader. If you wanted a shield because she got
Hmm.
some votes at the round table again. So that could be a good strategy. She seems easy to throw under the bus at this point.
Yeah.
Um, but it's a good question. It's a good question. So the names that come up at the round table, I mean, not at the round table, at the deliberation. I don't know the official name for this, but they're deciding who to murder, and the
Hmm.
names that come up are Crystal, Kevin, and Fierce. And I'm upset once again about all three of these options
Yeah.
because I don't want any of these three to go. Um, and I just feel like, again, this is the second week in a row that Mike wants to murder someone who suspected him, which I just feel like, okay, it worked once, Mike. I don't know how we're going to do this 2 weeks in a row
Hmm.
and have you come away scot free. Like someone's going to notice the pattern here.
Yeah.
But what did you think about these three names?
I mean, yeah, I was first of all, I was devastated because I
I
love all
know.
three of these people for different reasons. Fierce is not that great at the game, but super entertaining. Kevin, if you've been listening, I'm rooting for Kevin, even though I literally do not see a path for Kevin to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
But I really am still rooting for him. And I think he's very smart. And we had a lot of good moments from this episode as well.
Yeah.
And Crystal, we were talking about her last week. She was just coming up, in the times of strategy for us. And we were really enjoying what she was seeing. She was having some good reads. So yeah, it really sucked to hear these three names. I wish they
Yeah.
would go back to killing someone like Dom or Mickey because I don't they haven't added anything to the show. So please let's take those people out. But I
I
but I
know.
understand it. But I understand why they're targeting Kevin, especially. I thought that Kevin was gonna be who they were gonna target.
Me too. I thought that this was the end of Kevin this week. His name was out
Hmm.
there last week. He was an option. His name again this week. I was like, okay, Kevin skirted by last week. There's no way he's going to skirt by again. And just to jump ahead, I was going to say long story short, but just to jump ahead, Kevin makes it. He's still here. There's a lot of Kevin in this
Hmm.
episode. But at the breakfast, before we get to who actually gets murdered, I wanted to shout out our girl Donna. She got some screen time during breakfast
He
today.
did.
She kind of fell into the background at the end of the episode, but I was like, oh, big Donna episode this week, but not really, just in the beginning.
Yeah, we got a few little Donna tidbits.
Yeah. Do you think we're getting a Donna winner at it?
Listen, I still think the traders are going to win, so no.
Yeah.
But I would love a Donna recruit now that she's calmed down a bit. And to
Yeah.
see Donna strategize might actually be very good TV because
Oh,
we
yeah.
saw one end of her being very erratic, and now let's see the other end of her being trying to strategize. So I was not even thinking about this till this moment. So
Me
literally, you just said
neither.
this. A Donna trader is actually, I think, what I want. I
I
hope
would
that's
so be in on that. Donna Trader, I'm 100%, I'm 1,000% in. I didn't think about it until this moment either, until I posed the question of like, is Donna getting a winner in it? But that could be something. That could be something. They established her as a character in the first episode. Then she
Mhm.
went quiet. I could see. I don't know. I don't know. Could be interesting. Let's keep that in our back pocket. I would love to see it.
Yes.
They start recapping the Rick vote a little bit. Mary says she came in ready to vote for Rick. She knew that's who she was going to vote for, but looking back, she feels like she was listening to the witch hunt, which
Mhm.
again, it's like, I don't really know how else you can participate in this game if you're not at least mostly part of the group. And maybe I'm missing something, but it feels like all of them are like groupthink, witch hunt, this hive mind, herd mentality. And I'm like, how else do you play? Because if you're part of the group, that means the focus isn't on you. And if you're diverting from the group, then the focus gets on you, and that's not really a great thing. So I just don't really know. Like, I don't know. It feels like that's kind of unfortunately one of the only ways to go if you're a faithful.
Mhm.
Even if you're a traitor, you should definitely be a part of the group if you're a traitor.
Yeah. So I think the way that I'm understanding when they're talking about the whole group think, I think that which they're not doing a good way of conveying, I think they mean it more so the fact that groupthink catches such fire so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more so we
Yeah.
should not be group thinking right away. If one person says one name, we should just not all jump on that name just because one person said it. So, and I feel like they need to do a better job. Like, I need a floating head of someone saying
Yeah.
groupthink is bad in this sense because
Yeah.
we keep picking the wrong person. So maybe we need to, expand our horizons, which I think by the end of the episode, we'll see some people finally saying, and given again the preview, which we'll talk about later, it does seem that they are finally starting to realize
Yeah.
groupthink is bad, but if we can groupthink in the right way,
In the right direction, yeah.
exactly, maybe groupthink could be good. So I think they're finally making that pivot by the end of this episode.
See, you made a lot of sense. And I feel like all it would take is someone in a confessional saying exactly what you said, because I'm like, yeah, what else are you guys going to do other than vote with the majority? But how you phrased it makes a lot more sense. Kevin, we get Kevin midway through, so we know that he is not murdered. And we see him in a confessional saying he's really looking to make a game move. And we do see Kevin gaming this episode.
Gaming hard this
Yeah,
episode.
gaming hard. Mike has a completely ridiculous entrance where he has like a fire in his hand. And I'm like, I can't with this man. And ever since you said like he reminds you of Christian, I can't get the thought out of my head that he is just like the magician version of Christian.
Literally.
And yeah, and I think he's gonna flame out the same way that little flame in his hand. Whew, it's gonna be gone. Goodbye, Mike. Hopefully soon.
Agreed.
Something interesting at breakfast is that they're all asking a lot of questions about the shield and trying to figure out who had the shield, and they're paying a lot of attention to the blue team because the red team went to the armory and they just assume everybody from the red team is going to be safe. So they're waiting to see who from the blue team is coming in, because they're like, well, no one's going to vote on anyone on the red team because they don't know who has the shield.
Mm-hmm.
They did vote someone out from the red team. They voted out Crystal, unfortunately. And then that kind of sends everyone into a frenzy. Like, oh, I guess the traitor must have had the shield because how else would they know? Which I thought was interesting. That was some pretty good, a good thought process there from everyone. I was kind of surprised to see that much focus on the armory and the shield.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it was great to see them discuss that. And again, this is why I feel like we keep saying this cast is above the US faithful cast. They're looking at things more critically. And they're finally getting something tangible to analyze as opposed to just saying a random name. Now there's strategy behind the shield and who's getting it and who's not. And I think that's actually I was going to say this, a problem that's going to come up for Kuzi and Mike. They should have thought about that before murdering someone. They knew that no one was going to reveal who had the shield. So Kuzi especially, she should have been like, no, we can't murder a red person because technically any of us could be safe. So
yeah, I think that was a fumble for Kuzi for sure. Especially if, I don't know obviously what's going to happen next week, but it does feel like that also came up at the round table, is the question around the shield. And if they're pivoting their thought process and Kuzi gets, some spotlight on her, this is just another tick in the Kuzi box of like, oh, well, she was also on the red team. And if she got the shield, she would know, and she's the traitor. So that I do think is a misstep for Kuzi. So I'm a little bit worried for her. Yeah. But Fierce comes in hating Kevin. Fierce is on fire. Really mad at Kevin.
180 from last week. Remember last week? Where's Kevin? I hope Kevin's alive.
Yeah, I love Kevin. I love Kevin. Well, Fierce hates Kevin now. Sits down, says, I hate Kevin. She's actually mad at Kevin. Like, big mad because Kevin did not vote for Rick. Even though Rick was the wrong vote, Fierce was upset because Kevin promised that he would vote for Rick, and he voted for Trevon instead the night before. What do you think about this?
I mean, I think Fierce is being super petty. I think this is, first of all, if you're going to be, I know Fierce likes the public antics, but if you're going to be mad at Kevin, do this on the side where you don't make yourself a target.
Right.
If you're genuinely mad about this, which I don't think is something to be mad about, because you were wrong.
Big wrong.
So if you were right, then I would be mad at Kevin, and then I would have suspicion on Kevin as a traitor. But you were wrong. So what are you mad at Kevin for? He has his right to vote the way he wants, and you didn't convince him, and clearly you were wrong. So there's no reason to be mad at him. So I just think it was very petty of Fierce to be mad at Kevin for this reason. And I'm glad throughout the episode we see Kevin, like confront Fierce and try to and it's say kind of what we're saying right now, that why are you mad at me? Like, you were wrong. So there's no reason to be mad at me.
Yeah, I could also see Fierce getting mad at Kevin if, like, okay, Kevin rallied other people to vote Travon. If
Mhm.
Fierce was trying to get out Rick, if Kevin really betrayed Fierce that way and then also ended up being wrong and getting Travon out and Rick was still there,
Yeah.
I could understand. But this just feels like you're mad for no reason. Like, you were wrong. You wanted to be wrong. I guess you wanted your friend to be wrong with you. I don't really know, but I don't know. It was good TV though, so I'm not mad
It
at it.
was.
Yeah, and it led to even better TV.
Yeah. Fierce wanted her to sink, they wanted to sing together on the ship. Fierce is like, I don't want to go
Exactly.
down alone. I want all
Mhm.
eyes on both of us.
Yeah. Well, there were a lot of people on that ship with
Yeah, it's
Fierce.
true.
Just not Kevin. Just not Kevin. So, Crystal unfortunately is murdered. Rest in peace to our girl. I was really upset about this because I feel like she really had a breakout episode last week. And I feel like we were just talking about how good she is at the game, or seemed like she was going to be. And it just feels like
Mhm.
Gerpier all over again, where
Exactly.
we were
That's literally
excited
what
at
it
the end of
feels
the
like.
episode. I know. It's so sad. What a bummer.
Yeah. Miss
I'm
you,
sad for
Crystal. Miss
Crystal.
you.
I know. Or have you, side note, just a little bit of a diversion, have you seen that Traitors Canada is posting the traitor reveals
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
murdered players? I'm loving those so far. I
Yeah, I love
haven't seen
watching those
Crystal's
too.
yet,
Yeah,
but
me
Gerpier's
neither.
was really good. So
Mhm.
if you're listening and you don't follow Traitors Canada on Twitter, you should check it out because they're posting the videos of the reveals. And Gerpier's was great. Gerpier was like, I knew two of them. I was so like I
Yeah.
got two. I don't know. It was sweet. I love that element. So after breakfast, we still have a lot of conversation about the shield. Someone from the red team got murdered.
Mhm.
They had the shield. They're trying to figure out who had it. They don't really get too far. But Mary is getting some heat, which I was a little bit
Yeah.
surprised by. Melissa A is putting Mary's
Mhm.
name out a little bit and saying, maybe because Crystal was close to Mary, Mary murdered Crystal to kind of just like fade into the background behind and use that as like a shield for herself and just get lost in the chaos, which is an interesting theory. Wrong, but an interesting theory. Were you
Yeah.
surprised to hear Mary's name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was surprised to hear Mary's name. Funny enough, I think last episode, Mary was another person that I was like, oh, Mary's now starting to. I'm gonna
Yep.
watch out for Mary because now she's starting to strategize. And again, I'm just gonna stop liking people, y'all. I
I
just
know.
cannot. I can't get invested in any person because they're gonna get voted out the moment they say something smart.
Yep.
So yeah, I was definitely shocked to see the Mary train start now. Because I don't really feel like she's done anything super suspicious yet.
No.
She's not playing too low key. Like, she does say things. She participates in the round table. She participates in discussions, but she's also not super out there. So I don't know where Mel got this inkling. I didn't really understand why they started to target Mary. It didn't really make sense to me.
Yeah, it didn't really make sense to me either. I feel like Mary's playing a very straightforward, faithful game. Like, she's
Mhm.
trying to figure out who it is. She's speaking not too much, but she is speaking enough to keep suspicion off of her. So it does feel like, I don't know, feels strange. But it did seem to start getting some traction anyway.
Yeah.
We do get I was actually going to say something about Mary and it got stuck in my head, but I decided not to say it. Anyway, we do get the conversation between Kevin and Fierce, and
Mhm.
Fierce is upset about Kevin not voting for Rick. Fierce is feeling like she's a pawn in Kevin's game. We
Yeah.
have a Fierce 4 alliance between Kuzi,
Yes.
Ghislaine, Fierce, and Kevin. Did we know about this? This is the first time we've heard about this,
No.
right?
Yeah, I wrote this in my notes. I was like, huh? Why has
Yeah.
this not been talked about?
I feel like we should have been focusing on this for the first 4 episodes if this existed
Yeah,
at the
that
time.
sounds
Like,
like a
it
very
just,
interesting
yeah,
group, especially since Gerline has gotten like no screen. Well, this episode she finally, because she
finally.
starts maneuvering with Kevin. But yeah, I think this is a alliances. I like when these type of shows tell me alliances, because
Me
then
too.
you start to see how people are playing the game and you start to understand the moves they make, because
Exactly.
then it makes more sense. Let's say that Gerline were to target someone that Fierce and Kevin and Kuzi were targeting. If we know that they were in an alliance, it makes sense. But if not, then it just seems like Gerline got this idea out of the nowhere. So yeah, I definitely wish that we would have known earlier about this.
I know. I wish we did too. And I just feel like it would have justified a lot of, like, if we could have watched the roundtables or could have seen the votes through a different lens, if we
Yeah.
knew how, they were aligned with each other. I feel like the only time we ever got any conversation about alliances was maybe in the first episode. And it was like Kuzi, Erica and Kevin, but
Um,
we didn't include Fierce or
mhm.
Gurleen in that. So I'm curious as to like when this came about. A lot of the narrative in this episode feels like it came out of nowhere. And I know last week with Sarah, we were talking a lot about how we really appreciate the editing in the show and we feel like we're
Yeah,
getting a good picture of what's happening. This episode, I'm almost like, whoa, a lot of this stuff is kind of coming out of nowhere.
agreed.
This is one of those things for sure for me. Um, so Kevin thinks that Mary's a traitor. He's talking to Gurleen. Thinks Mary's a traitor. He doesn't want Mary to go. And I'm really loving Kevin here because I feel like we've been talking about
Yes.
aligning with the traitors. And I'm like, finally, someone's doing it. And this is what I want to see. So he doesn't want Mary to go. He wants to be on Mary's good side. That'll keep them from not being murdered. Great.
Hmm.
Love it. If they make the right move, he's saying to Gurleen, they can for sure go to Final Eight, which I'm kind of like, I don't really, the math wasn't mathing for me, but I'm not a math person. So we need Carrie here to explain it to me personally, but that's a me problem. But Kevin is basically like, we're getting murdered in the next 2 rounds. It's happening. Unless we can really frame someone else.
Hmm.
And I can be loud and wrong, maybe for once, and get some heat. I really like this strategy of just being completely wrong on
Hmm.
purpose to get some of the heat off of you because everybody knows that Kevin is a faithful because he was so right about Mel B a few episodes ago. So why not just start throwing out random ideas to
Hmm.
get the scent off of you and make it so you wouldn't be such an obvious murderer. I really like this plan of
Hmm.
Kevin's. What did you think about it?
Yeah, no, I think again, this is kind of why like I've been rooting for Kevin because he really is a gamer and he's playing this
Mm-hmm.
game right now like a Big Brother type of game. He's going
Yeah.
to these have this side combo with Gurleen. He has a side combo with Mary later on. So he's doing this like pick people into a room and just quickly chat one on one as opposed to doing this in a big group setting. So that's what I really loved. However, I will say this is a great idea for Kevin. However, I did not like the way he went about it.
Okay.
I don't think it was a good idea to go to everyone and tell everyone that you want to throw fear that you're throwing Fierce under the
Mm-hmm.
bus. I think he should have told Gurleen and maybe one other person he trusted, and then done that at the round table, as
Yeah.
opposed to now everyone is now looking at you as you're gaming so hard, and then when you're wrong, people are going to be like, maybe you were trying to lead us astray, and you are a traitor. So
Yeah.
that's what I didn't like. His idea was amazing. I just didn't like the execution for it.
Yeah.
How did
And
you
we did
feel?
kind of see that exact thing happen later. Like May was like, oh, he's kind of giving us a hint. And I was like, oh, okay, she clocked him. Like that's
Hmm.
exactly what he was doing. So I think you're right. I think he should have kept it to a select few. Maybe if he really is working with Gurleen and Kuzi the way he says, obviously
Hmm.
Kuzi's a traitor, but he is
Hmm.
already aligned with a traitor. If she does kind of want to murder him though. Maybe just stick with those people if you feel like you can really trust them and then maybe have them sow some seeds of suspicion
Yep.
too and then you could speak up at the round table. I don't know, I think he could have
Exactly.
gone about it in a more strategic way for sure, but I
Hmm.
like the idea overall because
Hmm.
he's convinced. He's like, Fierce is not a traitor, there's no
Yeah.
way. Fierce is
Yeah.
clearly a faithful. She's just kind of a mess at this game, so
Hmm.
like why not. um and we get a confessional from Gurleen. She's activated. She's here. She's ready to play. She's ready
Hmm.
to show up and she's ready to play. And I love it.
I agree. And and it's luckily for Gurleen, Kevin is not a traitor. Because if not, this would be such an embarrassing
Oh my
season.
God.
She'd be
Yes.
literally then she would be the Andy and Quentin
Mm-hmm.
who just blindly because good for Kevin that he has Gurleen's blind faith, and lucky for Gurleen, she's putting it in the right person. But it does worry me a little bit when I see a player just be so. I think everyone needs you want almost a ride or die in these type of games, but you
Mm-hmm.
also need to you can't have that blind spot the whole game.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah. I
but
feel
it's good
like
to
you
see
have to be
Gurleen win.
adaptable
Exactly.
because then you become Andy
Hmm.
and then you just look butthurt when you get played.
Yeah.
Mess. So we go to the mission. Um, this is the mission, once again, another mission that we've seen before. This one is kind of, I don't want to say fun, but it is like, I don't know, it's sort of entertaining. But this mission flew by. It was like 3 minutes
Yeah.
long. There were only 3 rounds. This is the mission where they go to the church. They have to go get a clue from the confessional. They get a page and or a paragraph number and a line within the paragraph to search through in I guess it's the Bible. I don't know what it's called, the Traitor
The
whatever
Book of Traitors.
the Book
I
of
think.
Traitors, yeah. Then you have to go find the person in the pew in the gold mask who's wearing the answer essentially to the riddle, and then they give you the gold. So this is for $6,000. They break up into two teams, another blue team, another red team. Trayvon is really on one about not being good enough in this game. Like, this is really all we're hearing from Trayvon this episode. I'm just
Yeah.
like, I sucked at the last challenge, I've been wrong, blah blah blah.
Very defeated.
Very defeated, very defeated. My main question for you: did you know that dragonflies eat mosquitoes?
I did not
I did not
know
either.
that, but I'm gonna start having pet dragonflies in the
I know,
summer here
right?
in New York because I
Me
cannot
too.
stand the mosquito.
Neither can I. And I always kind of got freaked out if I ever saw it. Not that I see them often, but if I ever see a dragonfly, I'm like, oh, because I don't know if they sting. But now I know they're friends, not foes. I don't know. Maybe they also sting, but that was news to
Yeah.
me.
And it really is crazy the fact that Fierce who said that
Fierce, yep.
her and Gerpier had
Yep.
talked about this, and it's given rigged.
It is giving a little
If
rig
this
because,
happened on Big Brother, I just know the Twitter streets would be going off.
oh my God, yes.
They
Yes.
just changed the challenge for Fierce to win. Oh my God, it's rigged for Fierce. So,
Yep. That is exactly what we'd be hearing on Twitter. Because I don't know that this is common knowledge. Like, if I were doing that, I'd be like, I don't know the answer to this. Like, I have no
Yeah.
idea what this is. And I don't,
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know it. My partner, Matt, doesn't know. Like, I mean, I didn't poll the group, but maybe we'll post a poll on Twitter and just ask, like, did you know that dragonflies eat mosquitoes? Because I
Yeah.
would love to know if that's common knowledge. There's Kevin wants to be, I'll just call him like the bookmaster. I don't know if that's like a title, but that's what I want to say. So that's what I'm going to go with. But he's good at numbers. He's good at math. So he wants to count. So here's what I don't understand. I guess there's no page numbers on
Yeah.
this, and we're just counting each paragraph. But I guess each paragraph has each page has a certain number of paragraphs. So I guess he's doing like fast math. But he's like, I'm a poker player, so I'm good at math, so I can be the math person. And then Mary's like, I'm good at riddles, so I'm just gonna read the riddles out loud. I'm like,
She was good at 0 riddles. She got them
she got
wrong.
none of them
multiple-
right. Yeah.
I
But
was
if
like,
you're
girl.
good at riddles, what good is reading the riddle? Like, solve the riddle. That you should be the
Yeah.
one going and finding the stuff then. If you're good at riddles, you shouldn't just be
Yeah.
reading them. You just have to
Listen
be
to-
able to read.
Yeah,
out
everyone here
loud.
can read. I can read. I'm
Yeah,
the
I can
best
read a riddle.
Exactly.
That was weird logic to me.
Yeah.
But Kevin gets the wrong paragraph, or he's wrong. The first one, the red team just, or the blue team, I'm sorry, just kind of like, quickly gets it
Mhm.
because of the dragonfly thing. Second round, it seems like Kevin just got the wrong paragraph and they didn't get the right riddle because of that, which I thought was weird. And then the blue team wins the third, and then I was like, oh, okay, I guess like, we have 3 here. And then it was just like, okay, no, we're done. I was like, oh, there's only 3 rounds of this. I feel like in every other Traitors that I've seen this, it's gone on for significantly longer.
Yeah, I felt like the US one was maybe they did it for more money in the US one. Maybe like 10.
Maybe.
So that's why it took longer.
Maybe. I don't know.
Or maybe they cut it short because they wanted to include the 3 eliminations in one episode. So they were like, let's just swap up. Because they made it seem like the blue team got all of them like
in
minus
like
the second
2
one.
minutes. Yeah.
I was like, damn, we got some geniuses on the blue team.
I know. And I was confused by some of them. I don't know. There were a few that I was just like, oh, I don't know. Like the moon, I don't think I would have gotten the moon. Like sometimes you can't see it and it goes in cycles. I'm like, oh, you kind of always see them. Like, does it ever disappear? I don't know. I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I agree.
I would have failed.
I'm also not great at riddles.
Yeah.
Riddles give me a headache sometimes. I'm
Me
like,
too.
wait, this is
I know, me too.
right now.
Me too. Okay, so blue team wins. That's it. Uneventful. It's over. If every challenge was this fast, I would be fine.
And they have 6K, Katie. Remember, you're keeping tabs.
6K. I did write it. 6K. I'm keeping track. They got all the money. Post mission, everyone's kind of just debriefing in the car. Nothing super interesting here. Kevin does a little bit of damage control. And then we just like jump right into the armory. Like they're already in the room.
Yeah.
We don't even see them having a conversation. We don't see them strategizing and saying like, I'm not going to say anything. They're just, the first person I think is Melissa A, and she's just like opening a box. And I'm like, oh, we're here already. We got no intro to the armory. We went from the car to the armory.
It was very weird. I felt like, was there no strategizing that went on in between? Because and the whole episode was like this. It was armory, and then right away we got like a 2-minute and then round table. It's like, what? I think maybe we were fed too much last week with May just going off all the time.
I think so.
So we thought they would continue that momentum. So maybe that was it. But yeah, it felt very weird.
Yeah, I pressed play on this episode and I was like, "Ooh, I can't wait to settle in and like see some mess." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh no, I just felt like I had whiplash this whole episode. Like the pacing was totally off. It was totally different than last week." Which is kind of unfortunate because I feel like we got a lot of really good tidbits that I want to see
Yeah.
more of. But hopefully it goes back to normal next week if they're,
Mhm.
I blame the cliffhanger, really. Mickey gets the shield, probably the least interesting outcome of this because I don't see Mickey doing anything or anybody caring. But he basically just says like, "I won't tell anybody." I'm like, "Okay, well, you're not going to get murdered. Who cares? Yeah, it
He's
doesn't really
also
matter."
barely. This is the first Mickey talking I've seen since like episode 1. So I'm sorry,
I
bro. You
know,
are irrelevant at the moment.
irrelevant.
You do not
Mickey,
need the shield.
you do not. Don't. You're good. Mickey, Dom, and Leroy. I'm like, you guys are putting me to sleep. All three of you. You're all putting me to sleep. Um, Then we jump into the pre-round table, and this is where Kevin really gets going. He's
Yes.
starting to plant some suspicion on Fierce, like we said, and Meg clocks it right away. She's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
he's coming out and making it seem like he's planting the seeds." And I'm like, "Wow!" I was impressed actually that
Hmm.
she picked up on that because she's been a little bit of a mess, obviously, as
Hmm.
we talked about last week. But this week, I was a little impressed that she picked up
Yeah.
that right away.
Maybe it was Rick. Maybe May is. Maybe we'll get the May that we thought we were gonna get
Maybe,
now after Rick
maybe.
is gone. Rick was just throwing off her whole feng shui.
I know Rick had her rattled. I was looking for a Rick GIF to post with our tweet, and I
Oh, that'd be so
could not
good.
find one. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't really look that hard, but maybe next week I'll find one. Kevin is saying that Fierce should be humble. She should be more mad about voting Rick wrong. Which, yeah, okay, I don't disagree with that. He also makes a joke to Trevon, and it seems like Trevon is doing a little bit of damage control.
Yeah.
And he also says like, "Oh, Mike, I kind of think you might be a traitor, but like I really think," or whatever or I don't remember exactly what he said to Mike. I didn't write down the quote, but he did kind of make a little bit of a joke about Mike, like,
Hmm.
"I don't really, I trust you mostly, but like I really don't trust Trevon."
Yeah.
Trevon is then like, as soon as Kevin makes this joke, then he's going on like the total defense and is going around to everybody and is like, "I think my name is out and I had a panic attack on the way to my room. And if you're going to banish me, like just banish me. I don't even care anymore. Just like get rid of me. I
Yeah.
don't care." And it just seemed like that all stemmed from Kevin making that joke to Trevon. And I was like, "Oh my God, like the power that Kevin has over this joke. It's from
Yeah.
like it's just wild." Poor Trevon.
Trevon is he's really going through it this episode. He
He's
really
going through
is.
it. He's been going through it this whole season so far. He's
True.
really been going through it. We see Mary's name out there. Melissa is pushing this group that she's in. I didn't write down who she was talking to. I kind of wish I did, but she's in a little circle and she's talking to a few people and she's like, "Okay, well, Trevon's name is out there. Do we go with the group and vote Trevon, or do we make the jump and vote Mary?"
Hmm.
We see Kevin making an alliance with Mary because
Yeah.
we know he believes she's a traitor, and he thinks you need alliances with the traitors, otherwise they're going to murder you. And again, I say
Hmm.
thank you, Kevin, for giving this up to us.
Yes.
And we see an interesting conversation with Gerline and Kevin about Fierce. She's willing to vote out Fierce, but she doesn't know what to say at the round table. Like, what would be the reason? Because they're all supposed to be working together. So Kevin's like, maybe this week isn't the week. Maybe we just like plant some seeds and then vote Fierce next week. But if I get murdered, I'm never going to forgive myself because like maybe we need to take the shot now. What did you think about this conversation? I thought it was pretty interesting. I also think it's interesting that Kevin is so convinced he's about to get murdered.
Hmm. So yeah, I thought it was a very interesting conversation to see how Kevin and Gerline were gonna, make this strategy work that they're gonna make.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I will say this was another moment for me where this was my fear with Gerline. I feel like now she's gonna get too into the weeds with Kevin, and unfortunately, if Kevin starts being wrong a lot, she's just gonna
Yep.
follow through with it, and it's just not gonna be a good look for Gerline. So I hope Gerline. She gave a little pushback, but I don't think she gave enough pushback because I think it would be a bad plan as well for Gerline. I feel like
Yeah.
I would have loved to see Gerline say, "You can do that. Like I will. I'm not gonna stop you from doing that. I'm not gonna tell you no. I'm not gonna give Fierce any heads up. But I'm not gonna do that because it doesn't look good for my game. And I like when I see players do that when they stand up for their own game without
Yep.
necessarily throwing someone's other game under the bus. So that's kind of what I wanted to see from Gerline. But I think Kevin just thinks he's a target because, come on, I feel like why wouldn't he be a target given how loud and vocal he was with Mel B and how it's very obvious that he's a faithful. So I think Kevin understands that his back is a bit against the wall. And I think that's just how he's gonna have to play the game as long as he's around.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. I think he's going to have to be on the defensive pretty much the whole rest of the time that he's here. But I also agree with you about Gurleen. Like, she's actually in a much better spot than Kevin because she could be a traitor. Maybe she's not a traitor. Who knows, one way or another. So I think it could be interesting. Like, it does feel like it's almost too risky for her to be putting Fierce's name out there because she's doing a good job of fading into the background right now. The traitors don't want to murder her. Nobody thinks she's a traitor, so she's playing a good middle ground game. And I feel like you're right. If Kevin starts being wrong, which he is wrong, Mary's not a traitor, and she's just like leaning on Kevin so much to make the moves for her and give her the strategy, then she's just going to be collateral damage to Kevin, and Kevin will be murdered, and then she'll be out at the next round table. It's going to be a mess for her. So that was interesting. I agree with you. Then we go right to the round table. I thought we were going to get more deliberation here in between.
Yes, again, I was
very,
not happy.
Yeah, very little strategy, which is the scramble pre-round table and the round table are my two favorite parts of the episode. And breakfast. I love breakfast, and like right after breakfast, those are the best parts. But I was a little bit disappointed because it just felt like there were so many names out there that it could have gone either any way, and we really didn't get a lot of conversation in this episode. So I was a little bit bummed about that. I was shocked to see the round table pop up on my screen.
Yeah, I agree. And then the person they voted at the round table, during the round table, they didn't really even discuss fully going after them.
I have questions.
I agree with, I think Kevin was confused and someone else was confused. Like, wait, why did they vote out this person? I did not think that was going to happen. And
that's how I felt.
That at all. So it was a weird round.
This whole episode was a little weird. I feel like we missed out on a lot of things. Kevin kicks the round table off and he immediately calls out Mike, which was surprising. I did not think that he was going to call Mike out.
Yeah, I thought him and Mike were going to work together it seemed like they had a chat that they were going to target Mary or Fierce. I don't remember which one, but
yeah.
To then see Kevin outright just target Mike and be like, I think you're 20% chance you're a traitor. But I was like, was this planned?
I know, this was so weird because we really didn't get any, and we got a lot of Kevin confessionals this episode, but we didn't get him talking about Mike at all. So he came out of nowhere and he was like, you're a nerd, you're a gamer. We played, I forget what game.
Tic-tac-toe.
Oh, tic-tac-toe.
I literally think it was tic-tac-toe.
You're right. Yes, it was tic-tac-toe. And we geeked over all the moves and the possibilities. And he's like, but you're not geeking right now. You haven't come up with any theory. You are just observing, you're reflecting. And I thought this was actually a really good read.
Yes, agreed.
Kevin, which is probably going to get him murdered tonight, unfortunately, because Mike was like, I called out Mel B, and he's like, but you didn't. Like, you did, but only because you observed everybody else talking about Mel B. That wasn't like your idea, essentially, which I think is great because that's exactly the truth.
And the fact that they didn't get more traction at the roundtable also shocked me.
I know.
That alone could have been like a 5-minute just discussion of someone else popping in saying, yeah, Rick, or Rick fighting for himself, or someone saying, actually, that doesn't make sense, Kevin. It just felt, why was that not addressed? Kevin is literally blaming Mike, who I think some people have had suspicion from him before too. So I felt like this was the perfect moment to start a discussion on why maybe Mike should be targeted. So I was not happy that didn't lead to that discussion.
I'm also not happy, and I'm also not happy that nobody mentioned that Gerpier put suspicion on Mike, he got murdered. Crystal put suspicion on Mike, she got murdered. And now Kevin is calling out Mike, and he's probably going to get murdered soon. But it's like, oh, Kevin's right. Plus the two people that called him out are dead. So I don't know, maybe it is Mike. It just feels like Mike's playing a little risky. Yeah. And for some reason, it's like not coming back to bite him when it should be, which is annoying because I really can't stand this man.
Agreed. Yeah, Mike is annoying. Sorry, Mike.
Annoying. He's so sorry. Yeah, sorry, Mike, if you're listening. I'm sure you're a great guy, but you're a little annoying on the show. And then Kevin flips it to Fierce and says, why didn't it matter to you that you were wrong about Rick? You were mad at me instead for not voting with you, but you were actually wrong. And you've been the most confident and the most wrong out of everybody, which is correct. Fierce has been loud and wrong, and everybody, we've said this about a lot of faithfuls, they've been loud and wrong, and people at this round table said you've been the loudest and the most wrong. So they're with us on that. But that was, I thought Kevin's kickoff of the round table was interesting. Do you feel like Kevin should be speaking up here, or should he kind of just let other people start this?
I don't know. It's a tricky situation for me because I feel like Kevin up to this point has been so just vocal about his strategy and the people he wants to target, and his voice is always heard. And I think if he started to fade to the background, that probably wouldn't be great.
Yeah.
So part of me thinks yes. Part of me is also like maybe don't be first, maybe be third to jump in. So
Yeah.
it's weird because once you set a precedent for the type of game you're going to play, if you change from that gameplay, that's going to make you suspicious. So it's kind of harsh, but I think that I actually do think Kevin is doing the best with the game that he knows how to play, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I can't get too mad at Kevin for the way he's playing. What about you?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you're right. I think if you start off one way and then you change your behavior, it's more dangerous in this game than probably any other game because people really are just looking for literally any excuse to point the finger at you. And for all they know, like, I think actually Kevin would be a pretty good recruit for the Traitors because everybody thinks he's a faithful. So why not bring him on as a traitor? No one's going to vote for him. It kind of gives you a good advantage for the Traitors, but that also, I mean, I don't know, can you trust Kevin as a traitor? I don't really know, but I think it's a little risky, but I would like to see Kevin get recruited as a traitor. And I would be interested to see if he changes his gameplay or if he continues to just like loudly point the finger at people, which I think he actually would. No, but I think you're right. I think he kind of has to keep up this. He's going all in, and I don't think he has an opportunity to like scale it back at this point.
It's the poker in him, just going.
He's playing on house money, as I think that's a poker term. I don't know. Mary calls out Trevon's erratic behavior. He gets called out about his lie. And Trevon is like, maybe you guys should start to look beyond the obvious. And I was like, Trevon, you're not really wrong.
Yeah,
you're not wrong.
I agree.
Okay? For once, you're not wrong. But Trevon is like, whatever. If you want to vote me. But you're wrong. I'm a faithful. I just like don't really care. Like he's just over it.
I hate that attitude.
I hate that attitude. I hate it. Don't be there if you don't want to play and fight.
Yeah.
I hate it.
It makes me want to vote you out.
Like, just because you don't want to be there. Yeah, then you can
leave.
go. Why are you going to take a spot from someone who actually wants to participate?
Exactly.
Yeah. Worst case scenario, I forget who says this, but someone says worst case scenario is Krista leaving. Someone on the red team masterminded this because they knew who had the shield. And then they're like, who had the shield? Who had the shield? Who had the shield? And no one admits it. Obviously, no one's going to admit. Yeah, of course not. And then we move on to the vote immediately. And I'm like, we're in the middle of conversation.
We got a good Mel A moment that I want to talk about before we talk about the vote. So again, Mel A, she's becoming more vocal, which means that Mel A's probably going to die, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
maybe she'll get recruited. Maybe that's how she'll survive. But no, Mel A made a very good point when they were discussing like Fierce. And she was basically saying that if you play this game of Fierce's, I don't have the exact quote, but something along the lines of this game of like deflection and you're derailing from getting the actual people, you're preventing us from playing the game the right way. So even if you're not a traitor, the way you're playing is interfering with us being able to catch the traitor. So we should still get you out. And I thought that was a great thought process that I feel like in Traitors US, we saw that with, listen, I loved Kate on Traitors US, don't get me wrong, but that's kind of what happened that's why Kate survived forever. And she was always the target at the table. And I think that really was a crutch that the Traitors used to stay in the game as long as possible. That's why like Sari and them never wanted to vote out, would never kill Kate. For what? Let her be a target every week. So I definitely think that is great to see Melee bring that up right now, as opposed to like an episode. I think Kate made it pretty deep into the game. So
yeah, I think she almost made it to like the last episode.
So
I actually agree with you, and I'm glad that you brought that up. I think it's a really, really good point. And it is like Kate. I think Kate is different in the sense that she's not just like throwing random shit out there like Fierce is throwing out there and just being so confident, but Kate was a distraction to everybody. So like the Traitors should keep these types of people around because they're going to distract from you as the traitor. And I think also once they start losing credibility, which Fierce has lost credibility at this point, Kate lost credibility early on in the game, no one's going to listen to what they say anyway, even if they're right. So if Fierce is saying it, she's already been proven that she's not great at the game. So no one's going to listen to her, even if she happens to be right. But, I think that could at the end of the day help the Traitors. So they, I know Kuzi said a few times like, I would like to get Fierce out. Fierce is going to have to be murdered soon. I don't know. I would have kept Fierce in for a long time because no one's listening to a word Fierce says if you're a traitor. So we get to the vote. I don't feel like the momentum is on one person or another. It feels like there's been a few
Agreed.
names out here. They're talking about the Shield, and then boom, we get a vote. Okay. My vote's for Trevon. Trevon votes for Mary. Gerline votes May. I'm sorry. Is it May? It's May. I keep saying
May,
my
yeah.
because I thought it was mine, but it's May. Because Trevon has given up, and if he were a traitor, he wouldn't do that. So I thought that was interesting logic. Like,
That
I thought
was
you were a
actually-
traitor, but then you gave up, and I really don't think a traitor would not continue to fight to stay, and Trevon didn't fight to stay, so now I think you're faithful, which, okay, I think that's good logic.
That's pretty smart.
Yeah. Fierce votes for May, which I thought is interesting because, like, we really didn't hear much of May's name out there at all.
Mhm.
Mike votes for Trevon, and then we get a vote for Fierce from Melissa. And I was like, what? Melissa was pushing Mary really hard, so why is she all of a sudden voting for Fierce? And then we get a vote from Leroy for Fierce, and then we get a vote from Donna for Fierce. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
What is actually happening?
Why?
Why?
Was it because of what Kevin said? Did people really get convinced by that Kevin little thing that he said? Come on.
It just feels weird because that group, I think it was that full group, was like in on voting Mary. So as soon
Yeah.
as we saw one Mary vote, I figured, okay, maybe Mary's going to go and be collateral damage here, even though we didn't see anything get pointed at Mary. And then when Melissa voted Fierce, who was the driving force for Mary, I was like, what the hell is going on here? And Mickey votes Fierce, Dom votes Fierce, Kuzi votes Fierce, Mary votes Fierce, Fierce goes. I'm blindsided. Kevin's blindsided. Mike's blindsided. Trevon's blindsided. Everybody's blindsided. And they're all saying that they changed their mind at the round table. But, like, what are the odds that every single one of them changed their mind and all decided to vote Fierce?
And from what? Like, what? Not this round table was so short. Nothing was said in that
what
round
did we
table.
miss?
If anything, I would have been targeting Mike. The only good point that was made was what Kevin said about Mike. And actually, and then Mel said about Fierce, but not to get him out as a traitor.
Right.
So I don't know. It was weird. I again, this was again at the end of last episode, the edit was giving me that Trevon was going to get murdered, was going to get banished, and then we lose Rick. And then again, the edit here did not give me vibes that Fierce was going to get murdered. So I was again just as gagged as all the people who didn't vote Fierce.
Me too, and especially because we got a few confessionals of Kevin saying, like, I want Fierce out, but I'm not going to vote this week. Like, I'm just going to plant the seeds. Next round, tomorrow will be the vote for Fierce, and then everybody else just one in a row votes Fierce. There's no conversation about it that we get to see, and it's just very confusing. But it seems like there was really, we didn't see it, but it also feels like the conversation didn't happen because Mike is confused, Trevon is confused, Kevin's confused. So it feels like if there were discussions, they wouldn't have been so confused. But they're all saying, Mary was like, I came in ready to do whatever, but then I changed my mind at the round table. And like, why? What? I want to know why. I just want to know why.
I wanted exactly. I want to hopefully maybe next week's episode we get some floating heads about why they voted out Fierce.
I hope
and,
so.
If they say that is because of what Mel A said, fine. I get that. You wanted to get rid of Fierce.
Yeah.
But it just felt very, I don't know.
Yeah. This whole episode was so weird.
Yeah. Definitely one of the, I mean, I guess we're pretty much done with the episode, but yeah, definitely maybe my least favorite episode so far.
I think it was mine too.
I was on a high for the Traitors, and this episode was kind of meh.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said before, I was like ready to press play and see some mess, and we got good Kevin strategy in the game in this episode, and I would have loved to have seen more of those conversations and more from Kevin, but I don't know. I also feel like we're not getting enough from Kuzi as like a player. We're getting a lot of Kuzi as a traitor, but I want to see the relationships that Kuzi is building with the faithfuls to see who's trusting her, who's not trusting her. She was in on this Fierce vote, obviously. How did she know to vote Fierce? Like, I don't feel like I'm getting enough of that for the Kuzi side, because for Suri, we saw so much of the personal connections that people were making with Suri that it made sense that no one was targeting her, but we're not getting any of this for Kuzi. Like, who's she close with? We just found out about this Fierce 4 alliance.
Fierce 4, yeah.
Listen,
know. You brought up I didn't even think about it that way. Yeah, like Suri was getting a very clear winner at it.
Yes.
And she was doing a great job, don't get me wrong. But yeah, you're right. Maybe Kuzi, now you got me thinking, I don't think Kuzi's gonna win this show, because unless she like turns it up these next few episodes, and like she's getting a good edit, but she's not getting a mastermind or like like main manipulator edit. If anything, sometimes she's kind of like agreeing with Mike when I wish she would push back a little bit more to what Mike said.
Yes. I think she should push back a lot on what Mike says. I think a lot of the murders were probably not good ideas. And I think, I don't know. I mean, I guess, sure, Gerpier was pointing fingers at Mike. You have to get him out at some point. Same with Crystal. You don't want to sacrifice Mike, but at the same time, it's like, you guys are really playing a risky game here. And you're just listening to what Mike wants to do instead of, standing up for, I don't know, recruiting someone or whatever. I don't know.
I will say,
right. Donna winner edit. I'm saying
maybe Donna winner edit.
I'm gonna put money on Donna.
I will say in Kuzi's defense, at least we are getting Kuzi saying that this is kind of her strategy to allow Mike to be the target.
Yes.
So is it the best strategy? We shall see. I don't necessarily think it is. At the end of the day, Mike is a traitor with you. So if Mike gets caught or if Mike slips up, it might affect your game. So you should try to protect Mike a little bit more. So that's why I think she should push back at some of his ideas that don't seem great. So, but it does seem to be her strategy. So at least her gameplay is making sense, even if I don't think it's necessarily a winner's gameplay at the moment.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think, I agree with you. I think Sari kind of did some similar stuff. Like she didn't really push too hard. She let Christian kind of bury himself. She let Cody bury himself. So, Kuzi, I think it's interesting because it's only her and Mike. So
exactly.
Yeah. We go up to the Traitors, little, whatever it's called. And, Kuzi, like you said she's letting Mike cook. Things will fall on him if they go wrong. And then we get a knock on the door. Cliffhanger.
Yeah, what do you think is gonna happen? Do you think it's just Corin?
I think it is. I think my assumption is that she's gonna say like, this is the last time you can recruit. So you can either recruit or murder, but like this is your last opportunity to do it. That's my assumption, but I really don't know.
Me too. And I kind of hope that's not it, because then I feel like that's like a bit manipulating the game, because they're learning that it's their last chance, so they're more likely to do it. I kind of want it to come from them, I want it to come from the Traitors, that they want to recruit, as opposed to this is our last chance, so we have to do it. So I do hope that's not, but I do agree with you that I do think that is what is going to happen.
Yeah, I would like that too. I would like to see them come to a decision together, or what if one of them at least like out strategize the other to say like we should finally recruit, and just see how they get to that decision instead of the game and production forcing it to happen. But I don't know, it could really be anything, I guess, or maybe it's a double murder.
Ooh,
maybe I don't know, that could be interesting. I have a feeling it's recruit. We'll see. We'll find out. Any final thoughts on this episode?
My final thoughts on this episode. Well, again, like I said, it was a meh episode. We got some decent strategizing from Kevin, but there was a lot less drama. I live for the drama. I live for the maze of the world being extra. I live for like the slick remarks from Rick last episode. So I was just on such a high that I should have expected that this episode would not live up to the high that I was on.
I know.
So
it got me too.
So I hope the edit's a little better in the next episode. Do we want to talk the preview real quick? Because I feel like it's spoiled.
Let's talk the preview. Yeah.
It's spoiled. So I honestly I thought Kevin was going to be in danger. Again.
Me too.
But the preview showed Kevin alive and well and strategizing.
Yeah.
So I was very happy because, as I keep saying, yay, Kevin survives. But are they trying to point us towards they recruited somebody they felt so that they could just show who survived,
Yeah, that's a good point. I agree. As soon as I saw Kevin, because it felt like Kevin was all over the preview for next week. So it's obvious that he survives because we see them deliberating, and that's where we leave the episode. So naturally, the next where we open the episode would be a murder, or the breakfast. Kevin's still here, which is an interesting thing to spoil. So yeah, that probably actually confirms my decision that it's probably a recruitment. But yeah, and it seems like Kuzi's in a little bit of trouble. I don't know who exactly.
It's May.
It's May. That's right. It's May.
That's what I wanted to mention. I think we're getting the May. I think Remember, Katie and I, May was our like one of our winner
Mhm.
picks, and I think we're getting back to that now that Rick is gone. Yo, I'm telling you, Rick was her bad juju. Like
I
Rick is
know.
gone,
Rick was
May is
really
back
inside
in
her
the
mind.
game. It seems like May's back in the zone because I'm very excited to see how she comes to that conclusion of Kuzi getting heat. And
Yeah.
again, I think the best players in these social strategy games put up with adversity. So it's going to be exciting to see how Kuzi deals with her name being thrown out. And I think
Yeah.
this is going to define, is she really going to be like a great gamer? Can she survive this? Can she turn this around? What does she do? So they got me excited. I'm not going to lie. They got me excited to see what happens with Kuzi.
Yeah,
What
I'm
about you?
excited
You
to
like the
see.
preview?
I liked it. I'm excited to see what happens with Kuzi. I think I agree with you. I want to see how she plays her way out of this, if she plays her way out of this. I think the fact that she's so out front in the trailer or in the preview for the next episode, she'll probably be okay, I hope, at
Mhm.
least. But I heard Mike's fucking voice in the background being like, "Yo, Kuzi." And I'm like, "Oh, this man's not doing this right now." I know he's not turning on Kuzi, which is actually another tick in the box for me that they recruit someone, because he wouldn't do that if he
Yeah,
would be the lone trader. If I think he would only do that if he had someone else as a
agreed.
trader with him. So I think I'm firmly in the camp of they're recruiting somebody
Same.
this week. Yeah, Rick is May's kryptonite, it seems like. She really is just frazzled around this man. I don't know what it is, but now that he's gone, she's like centered. She was
Yeah.
racing Leroy, the professional football
Mhm.
player, CFL, I think, not NFL, but in the challenge down the pews or whatever. So, she's back in it. She's ready. She's playing.
Come on, May. I was rooting for you, and I was rooting for you for being a mess, but now I'm rooting for you to game again. So I'm still Team
Yes.
May.
I'm still Team May. She's good TV. So anybody
Yeah,
that's good TV, I
exactly.
want to stick around. She's giving us something. Get rid of Dom.
Oh my God,
Who
Dom
even
and
is
Mickey.
Dom?
If there's a double murder, just murder
Yeah,
those two.
please, just get rid of
Out.
them. Go. Yes. If you're recruiting, if you're Mike and Kuzi, who are you recruiting to be a trader with you
I'm gonna
at
say
this
it
point?
again, y'all. I'm recruiting Donna.
I think I'm recruiting
Donna
Donna
is who
too.
I'm recruiting. I think Donna would say yes. I think Donna's spirits will really help Kuzi and Mike.
Yes, I think so too. I'm
But yeah,
kind of loving Donna.
I think Donna would be a good recruit.
I think she would be too. I think she would be fun to watch as a
Yeah,
trader.
and I
I don't
want
know
to
how
see
she'd
more.
handle the pressure, but
Yeah, exactly. That's what I want to see. I want to see
mhm.
like her floating head of her talking about the pressure of it. I feel like she'll also give us like a struggle moment of deciding does she actually want to be a trader or not. So I think that'll
Right.
be interesting to hear her reasoning there. And yeah, I kind of want to see more Donna. I miss her a little bit now.
I
I liked
know.
her crazy antics in the beginning, and now it seems like she might be able to hopefully socially strategize. So I would like to see that side of her as well. So I'd
Yeah,
be
it seems like
recruiting
people are
Donna.
enjoying Donna more than they were in the first. In the first episode, she obviously was going through it. That
Yeah.
was probably like the first or second day. Now it feels like she's acclimated a little bit. She's making some
Mhm.
friends. She's having relationships with people. Maybe she'll calm down a little bit. I Give me Donna. I agree. I want Donna. I'm feeling Donna winner at it.
Yeah.
We'll see. That might be a wild claim, but I'm going all in on my
It
Donna
is.
winner at it.
It might be. I agree. It might be a long shot
I
claim,
think
but
it's a long shot, but I'm sticking with it.
listen, we got to bet sometimes, and
I
she might be
know.
doing it. We'll see.
This means she's out of here next week, by the way, based
I
on
know.
everyone
Me and
that
you
we've
cannot
loved
root
so
for
far.
anyone.
I'm rooting for Leroy, I'm rooting for Dom, and
Yes,
I'm rooting for Mickey. Those are my
Mickey is my
winners.
favorite
Yes.
competition player on any social strategy show ever. You
I
hear that,
love him.
producers?
Love him. And I love Dom so much. He's serving.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, 10 out of 10 casting. We love them. I hope they stick around forever.
Uh,
Well, anything else on this week, Javier, that you want to chat about?
no, I think we touched upon everything that I want to talk about. And I'm excited for next week.
I'm excited for next week too. I think we're going to be back, hopefully, in
Yes.
a good swing. I think they crammed too much in to this
Hmm.
like 43-minute episode or however long it was. So
Definitely.
hopefully they get back on their feet next week. Cool. Well, in that case, where can everybody find you on the internet these days?
Yes, everyone. So you can find me at _ the Starboy on Twitter. Again, sharing all my thoughts there. And you can catch me here on Sign the Traders. Also, we released the end of Love is Blurry last week. So if you want to listen to our Love is Blind recap, go listen to that as well. And catch me back here next week on Sign the Traders.
I can't wait to listen. We were just talking before we went live that I just finished Love is Blind season 5 today, and I can't wait to go back and listen to you and Isaiah rip these people apart. I'm ready for it.
A
This
lot.
season was a lot.
Hot mess, y'all. That's why you should listen.
Hot
Plug.
mess. I can't wait. Yeah, I'm going to listen. You can find me at RealSomeKatie on Twitter. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/RealSomeKatie with an underscore. You can find me here, obviously, on Silent Podcast on Sign the Traitors. And our Big Brother coverage is coming to a close very soon. We're getting ready for the finale. I'm mentally, the show is over for me. My winner is leaving this
100%.
week, so it's over for me. But you can catch us talking every Friday for as long as the show is still on. I think it ends next week, right?
Yeah, next Thursday is the finale.
Next Thursday. So you get 2 more of us for bounce checks, Isaiah, myself, and Josie Ann. So check that out if you're still interested in Big Brother coverage. I know not many of us are, but we're still here. And yeah, like I said, I think last week, Carrie and I will be back at some point talking Bravo. We're just on a small hiatus, but Pod What Happens Live will be back soon. So stay tuned for that if Bravo is your thing. We have a ton of new Bravo shows premiering this week. I think Potomac is coming out. Miami's coming out this week. Salt Lake City's back. There's a lot. Beverly Hills just started. There's a lot happening. So check us out there. And once we're back, we'll post on Twitter. Speaking of Twitter, check us out if you would like to keep up with everything that we are up to at silent_podcast on Twitter. You can also follow us on YouTube and Twitch. Just search Silent Podcast on both of those platforms, and we're there. We stream most of our content, not all of it, but most of it, if you want to look at our faces while we talk. And you can also listen to us on all of your podcast players, audio platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Pocket Casts, whatever you use, we're on there. So check us out there, and just make sure you like and comment and subscribe. That really helps us out. Leave us 5 stars if you like what you heard. It really helps us get discovered in the algorithm. So we would appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. And we'll be back next week to talk episode 6 of the Traitors Canada. Bye.
Bye, everyone.